You might not want to date the typical guy that you were dating back at home. You know what I'm saying? You might want to date the guy with the G-Wagon and the condo in Brickell and knows the club promoter. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, does that make you superficial? Yeah, a little bit. But it's a reason why you left your hometown. Hey guys, it's Drea and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you everybody who supports and watches my videos that I upload and subscribes. I really appreciate that. I've been on YouTube for about a year now and I'm so far happy with my progress and we're just gonna keep going further. But anyway, today I want to talk about something that I talked about before, which is moving away from your hometown, starting fresh, starting over, how, staying in your hometown, no matter how old you are, is holding you back from your glow up. I'll link the video above. It's been doing really well. I did that video almost a year ago, but for some reason it's been taking off lately. And I only have a few videos on my channel that do over 1,000 views, and that's one of them. So I'm really appreciative for that. But if you guys liked that video, you'll definitely like this video because we're going to be talking about some of the same things. But with this video, we're going to be talking about the pros and the cons of leaving your hometown. Please hit the thumbs up. Please leave a comment. Please subscribe. It helps me out a lot to let YouTube know, hey, this is someone that I like. This is someone who deserves to be in the algorithm. So let's get started. Let's talk about the pros to moving out of your hometown and starting over fresh and becoming the new you. I don't care how old you are. I don't care if you're 19. I don't care if you're 50 years old. You've always had the desire to move away from your home state. Do it. As someone who has lived in multiple states, I've lived in New York City, I've lived in Atlanta, Georgia, I've lived in Miami, and I've lived in Omaha, Nebraska. Some of them were for work, for school, and some were just straight up, I just wanted to leave, which is where I am right now in Miami, Florida. I just decided I wanted to move to Miami and I'm here. So let's talk about the pros of moving. The pros, depending on where you live or where you decide to move to, it could be the weather. For me, of course, I'm in Miami. We have winter, but it's nothing like the winter back home in the DMV. That was one of the main reasons why I left the DMV was to come to a place where there was always sunshine. The sunshine actually affects my mood in a positive way. When I'm at home in Maryland, when it's raining, when it's snowing, when it's dark and cloudy outside, I'm just in a bad mood. I'm not a good person to myself. I'm not a good person to others. I'm not productive. So I knew that moving somewhere where the sun was always shining would help my mood. And so far, so good. Of course, you're going to always have your bad days no matter where you are, but I have more good days than bad days because I'm able to throw on a flip flop, throw on some shorts, and at the most, a light jacket, and I'm good. Um, that's one of the pros. Another pro is starting over. Have you ever been a person in your hometown that you just feel like people think this of you, or you've fallen out with friends, or you've had several breakups, or you just find yourself in toxic situations, whether it's friends, family, co-workers, relationships, and you just want to break away from that. You just want to be a new person. You want to meet new people where you can just kind of rewrite your story, and there's nothing wrong with that. You want to get away from the things that you feel are holding you down, holding you back. So moving away, you get to leave, you get to meet new people. You just want a fresh start with your friends, a fresh start with your dating life, a fresh start with your career, whatever the case may be. We grow and we evolve every day, actually. And you hit that point where you feel like you've evolved past your hometown and you're ready to experience something new. So you come to a different state, you meet new people, you start going out more, you learn how other people are living and how they experience life. And you start to experience a different life and you start to love it and enjoy it. Another pro of moving from your hometown is you stop limiting yourself. You tell yourself, hey, I'm going to move here. I'm not familiar with, the stores, the local spots to eat, the clubs, the networking professional scene, the dating scene, the social scene. You're not familiar with anything, but you stop putting limitations on yourself and you stop being scared and you just do it. And you become this person who's going out more, who's more independent, who is friendlier, who's more social, because you have no choice but to put yourself in the mix because you moved away from your hometown. So you have to start all over. You need new friends, you want a new dating life, you want to know what restaurants are good, what restaurants are not. You have to find your new local grocery store. You learn about the people, the language, depending on where you're moving. Everything is brand new. And sometimes you just need that fresh start. Sometimes you just feel like you're in a rut and life just become so routine. That was one thing for me. It was just like when I was living in the DMV, it's just like everything was so routine. And it's like I loved my friends and I loved my family, but it was like you're getting the same thing every day. Me, I'm the type of person, I welcome change, I invite change, I need change. I cannot just be stagnant doing the same thing every day for months, for years, and then next thing you know, you're old, you haven't done much with your life, you haven't moved anywhere, you haven't done anything exciting, you haven't met any new people, you haven't tried any new foods, you haven't traveled, and it's just like you could be full of regrets at that age. Like, oh, I always wanted to move, I always wanted to do this, this, and that. I never got to do it. So I say, do it now. It doesn't matter how old you are, do it now. So that's another pro. Another pro of moving out is peace. You know, sometimes when you're living in your home state with your family and your friends that you know your whole life, people think they know you, people put their opinions on you and try to make you feel like less than who you are, whether they're doing it maliciously or not. A lot of times when you're around the same people that you grew up with and your family and your friends, they put you in a box of who you are. And sometimes that is very uncomfortable and it costs you your peace. And it's just like, I need a clean break. I need to get away from all this. When you move to a different state, you got your apartment or your apartment with your roommate, whatever, it's a fresh start. Those toxic people, they might still call your phone, but it's going to be a lot harder for them to get to you mentally and emotionally. And sometimes you just need to be in your own space. And I will say that being in my own space has helped me come up with fresh ideas, has helped me be able to have a clear mind and really think things out of how I want my life to look like in the next few years, in the next month, whatever. Sometimes you just have to get out of that environment that is making your mind small or making you a smaller person. Getting out and moving to a new place, I'm telling you, it expands your mind because there's people your age in different cities and states that are doing things that you've never seen before, eating foods you never tried before, working in industries that you always wanted to work in. And then look, you met this person who works in this industry and now you have a foot in the door. So I genuinely feel like moving out of your hometown just expands you as a person in general. There's people who go to school to get all types of degrees, bachelor's, master's, PhD, all that stuff. But my mom always told me that the real life experience is outside of the classroom. And I stand by that. Another pro, you force yourself into independence. When you are back in a familiar space, if anything happens, you can always call a family member. You can always call a friend, right? But when you're in a new place where you can't call family and friends, you just have to figure it out, you'll get forced into independence. And as scary as that sounds, that's the part that I loved about it the most because I didn't have to rely on anyone. I had to rely on myself. I had to become a problem solver. I had to have confidence in the decisions that I was making. It forces you to grow up and you will love that quality because you can take that anywhere. You could take that into your job, you could take that in friendships, you could take that into dating. You just take that into your everyday life of this confident, independent person that knows how to problem solve and make decisions on their own. You don't have mommy to back you up. You don't have your uncle to come fix things that broke. You have to problem solve. So now, unfortunately, guys, we're going to have to talk about the cons. Even though these cons be conning, I still would not take back or move back home, or I don't regret making a decision to leave my hometown. But we have to get into these cons, unfortunately. One of the cons, depending on where you're trying to move to, the cost of living. I live in Miami. Since 2021, Miami's rent prices have skyrocketed. You're not going to find anything under $2,300. I know LA, they've been dealing with that. They're used to those prices, but Miami was not like this. You could come to Miami and get a place for $1,100 and be good. Like, not in the hood, safe space, beautiful building. That dream is over. If you want to live in a place like Miami, you're going to be paying $2,300 for a one bedroom in a decent community. If you want a decent community, gas is higher, groceries are higher, going out to do fun stuff. I remember one time I went to the bar. My drink was one drink, $27 before tip. So, you have to consider things like that. The nightlife is more expensive, cost of living is more expensive. It's something that comes with the decision that you made. But, you can always move somewhere else where the cost of living may not be as high, but also consider the fact that you're going to be on your own and you're going to be independent. So even if the cost of living is the same of what you're used to, because you're independent, because you're by yourself, you may end up spending more money. So that is definitely a con, but at the same time, maybe you can find a job that pays higher, because sometimes where places that they have a higher cost of living, sometimes the jobs end up paying more money. Another con, something I struggle with and still struggle with, making new friends. Now, you can make friends, you can go out, you can meet people, but a lot of the times you struggle with making genuine friends and friends that last. Unlike, being at home, you have your friend that you've been cool with since the fifth grade. Coming out here, especially as someone in their 30s, trying to make friends, trying to make genuine connections is really hard, especially depending on the city you move to. You move to a city like Miami or a city like LA, it seems like everyone is looking for something. No one is just looking for, oh, I just want a great ride or die friend. People are looking for friends with certain cars, certain access, certain status, certain amount of followers, who you know, what you can get them into. Can you get me a job? Can you get me into this party? Do you do this, and that? Do you have a Chanel bag? Do you drive this type of car? Like, it's a lot. I would say that I've been guilty of it as well, because it's like, okay, you leave in your hometown, you do want to come out and have better experience and more quality of life and experience luxury. So it's like, yeah, you may come to Miami or LA and you might not want to date the typical guy that you were dating back at home. You know what I'm saying? You might want to date the guy with the G Wagon and the condo in Brickell and knows the club promoter. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, does that make you superficial? Yeah, a little bit. But it's a reason why you left your hometown. You know what I mean? But that's definitely a con, because even though I can say I've done that before, I don't like it when it's done to me. Okay? I'm not like that no more, honestly. I look at people for their heart. If you don't find the right people, it could be really hard for you moving out on your own and being alone, trying to make friends, because it takes a while before you can meet good people these days. Another con is having no family and friends. Sometimes it gets a little lonely, especially if you're going through a rough patch in life, a tough time. You don't have anyone to come home to and vent to, or you can't just go over a family member's house and lay on their couch and talk about your day. You have to just kind of deal with it on your own, or go get a therapist, or maybe you bottle it all up. But it's just not the same as when you're living back home and you could just go home to mom and say, hey, mom, I had a rough day, or hey, mom, I got laid off, or hey, mom, I don't have any money to pay my bills this week. You just have to deal with that on your own. And if you don't have any friends, you don't have someone that's like, hey, girl, let's go out, let's get drinks, clear your mind. You don't have that. So it gets a little hard. Tough times feel a little bit tougher. But like I said, I still don't regret moving, because you have good days and you have bad days. That's life. You're going to have bad days in your hometown, you're going to have bad days out of state somewhere else. That's just life. If you have an emergency, say something happens with your car and your car breaks down, you may not have your uncle to come get you from the side of the road and then have your car towed to his garage where he fixes whatever problem is wrong with your car. You got to pay somebody. You can't call your uncle, you can't call your mama, you can't call your daddy. you have to pay someone. And the heart and the emotions that your family and friends have for you and the sympathy, you don't get that out of state. A person is looking for their money or you're wasting their time. So that's another con. Missing out on family and friend events. Sometimes it's not worth flying all the way home, unfortunately, for your friend's baby shower or flying all the way home for the cookout that your cousin is having over the weekend. But you're looking on Instagram, watching everybody's stories, like, oh, I wish I was there. It looks like they're having so much fun. I'm sitting at home by myself with a glass of wine because I ain't really got no friends like that. That does happen where you just feel like you're missing out. You're missing out on family events, friend events. Seems like the world back at home is just moving along and you're kind of just sitting still, missing out. That is something that you have to consider. If you want to make it to every cookout, if you want to make it to every kickback, if you want to make it to every person in your family's baby shower, birthday party, Easter, whatever, you may not want to move because you are going to miss out on some of those things. Everything is not worth a flight back home. You could even miss out on holidays. There's some Thanksgivings that I have to sit out because I'm just like, Thanksgiving is on a Thursday. I might be off Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then I have to go back to work Monday or something like that. And it's just too much of a quick turnaround and too expensive to do. And sometimes it's just like, all right, well, I'm not coming home for Thanksgiving. So you have to consider that too. Some holidays are worth it, some holidays are not. Or like Easter, it's like Easter is important in my family, but when I'm all the way in Florida and they're in the DMV, it's like Easter becomes a less important holiday. So that's something that you have to consider. You may not make every holiday. You get homesick. Sometimes you don't always like the food that this new state that you're living in has, or you may not know about all the food spots. That's something that I deal with. Like I have to get on TikTok to see like when I want Chinese food because the Chinese food that I have tried here, I don't like. But then it's like you have to find the energy to be willing to try a new Chinese food spot when you know back at home the carryout that you go to is your favorite carryout. The chicken gonna be hitting, the fried rice gonna be hitting, the egg rolls gonna be hitting. Like I don't always want to be adventurous. I just want to know that it's gonna taste good. So that's something that sometimes affects me too. Is I get homesick because I want my certain food spots or I'm craving a certain food and it's just like I don't have access to that. So that was my pros and cons of leaving your hometown. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Like I said, at the end of the day, I would not regret any of the moves I made, whether it was for work, school, or just pleasure. I am very happy where I am in Miami, Florida, and I would encourage any and everybody not to limit yourself, even if it's for a year and you decide, I can't do this anymore. I don't want to do it, or it's not what I expected. At least you did it, and you will be a different person than you were before you left your hometown. It is definitely worth the experience. Yes, there are a lot of cons, but there are a lot of pros too. And at the end of the day, it makes you a well rounded person. So I hope you guys enjoyed my video. Please run this video up like you guys did the last one. And if you have any questions or concerns, leave them in the comments. I will respond to you. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for watching my video. Hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Bye. And we can play tag.